Hi, this is Tim Meyer from Keep Yourself Relevant. Thanks again for joining. Today, I want to continue to talk through a book that I use and has helped me in developing my personal growth and my career, and it's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I did a video already on habit number 1, and today I'm going to spend some time talking about habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind. The framework for the 7 habits of highly effective people consists of this. You start off on the bottom here with dependence, and then through the first 3 habits, you develop your personal skills. Habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind, which we'll be focusing on today. Put your things first is habit number 3, and the development of those 3 habits will move you towards independence. And then as your circle of influence grows, you can develop habit number 4, think win-win. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then be understood. And habit number 6, which is synergize. And then through the development of those 3 and growing your circle of influence, you then gain and move on to interdependence. And then number 7 is just the habit of continuing to grow and develop continuous and do your continuous learning. In order to develop your habits and grow your personal self, there's 3 factors that come into play, and the first one is knowledge, the what to and why to. The second component is your skills. You need to develop how to do something. And then the third one is your desire or want to. And where these circles meet is where you have your habit. In order to accomplish your habit, you need knowledge, skills, and desire to be able to grow the habit. And again, we'll be focusing today on habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. And there's a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes: "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." I thought it was a really good quote to start with this habit number 2, which is how you develop your own personal mission. And we'll want to, again, this is just to reemphasize that we're focusing on habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind, which is within the first section of things that you can control. So the first 3 habits are under your control. Habits 4, 5, and 6 are out of your specific control. To begin with the end in mind, habit number 2, you're going to be wanting to focus on creating your own development and creating your own mission statement. That's something that you create versus something that is out in general, if you will. So we want to focus on making sure you're designing it versus you follow or copy something. You want to be self-aware and make sure self-awareness comes into play in your design as opposed to others influencing your design. And then you want to take into account your own personal values and principles as opposed to the rules that are in society. Want to make sure that we keep track of leadership versus management and the role that plays in the development of habit number 2. For leadership, we want to focus on what do I want to accomplish, and that's very different from management, which is how can I accomplish certain things. So we want to make sure that when you're creating your mission, you're focusing on what you want to accomplish more so than how you're going to accomplish it. In order to build habit number 2, begin with the end in mind, there's 4 steps that you can go through to be able to create that personal mission. Find your center, define your principles, number 2. Step number 3, write personal mission statement, and then identify the roles and goals. And I'll go through those 4 steps for you here. The first step is, as we had talked about in habit number 1, you have a circle of influence, and the larger that circle of influence, the more influential you are on your influencing what you're doing as opposed to what you're doing with others. So we want to make sure that you're aware of your center and what is going to guide you. So there's 4 different factors that come into play with finding your center. The first is the guidance. The second one is the power. The third one is security, and the fourth is wisdom. So you want to make sure you're keeping in mind what's going to guide you moving forward. What power do you have or influence do you have? What's the wisdom that you're going to take into account when you're working to find your center? And then what's going to make you feel comfortable when you're defining what your center is? And there's different centers that you can identify. You can define work center, a spouse center, family center, money center. So the more that you understand about yourself and how different pieces factor into your center of working, the better off you're going to be. So the next slide here is just a potential layout for how you would put this together in a OneNote or something. It's just a quick table where you have your center on your left. Some examples would be self and work. And then you define what's going to make you secure, what's going to guide you, what's the wisdom that you bring, and what's the power or influence that you have for finding these different centers. So you just make a list and you start defining those. The next step is to then define your principles. What are the different principles that are going to factor into what you want to define and accomplish? They could be something that's more personal, yourself, or it could be work related. What's your principle regarding possessions, friends, family, spouse, money, etc., etc. So you just try to understand what's your principles that's going to guide you in moving forward. Then you're going to need to write down your personal mission. Your personal mission statement should consist of 3 pieces. What you want to be, meaning what's your character. What do you want to do, meaning your achievement or accomplishments. And then what are the values that you're going to use to accomplish that particular mission statement. So that's step number 3, is to write your personal mission. And then personal habit, step number 4 in defining this personal mission, which is begin with the end in mind. Habit number 2, you want to identify the roles and the goals and the differences. So a goal is what you want to accomplish, and a role is your part in accomplishing the goal. And it's important to understand the difference between a goal and your role. So I'll go through an example here of one that was in the book, and I think it's a good example to start from, and I highly recommend you buy the book, and they have all kinds of other examples to more specifically give you more references for how you might develop a personal mission. Again, this example is the mission is to live with integrity and make a difference in the lives of others. In order to fulfill this mission, I have charity, I sacrifice, I inspire, I am impactful. And you would have different phrases that would go behind those so that you can better define what those are. But then you look at, and those are really what you want to accomplish. So your goals are really, I have charity within this mission that I'm going to accomplish. This is really my overall goal. And then here's the pieces of those goals from different perspectives. And then you'll utilize these or accomplish these goals from these different roles. Your role as a husband, your role as a father, potentially a son or a brother, a neighbor, etc. So I'm hoping that gives you a feel for habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind. The steps that you need to go in order to learn the 7 different habits. There's 3 habits that you can control, which is habits number 1, 2, and 3. And then you have indirect control on habits 4, 5, and 6. And then you have items that are out of your control. And I hope that this was helpful to you. And the reference that I have here is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is the book that I just referenced. And if you found this video valuable, please consider giving it a like, and or please consider subscribing. Thank you and have a good day.